Presentation practice and production. This is an approach you already know. Lots of teachers use this approach. They present the lesson, they do some practice, and then they do some practice, then they now give the learner work to do. In the context of English language teaching, usually it's used for grammar. The teacher presents the lesson, using either a situational presentation, creating a context, a scenario by using pictures, watching a video, or telling a story, or anything, just a scenario, because we want to give a background, to the lesson. And then we present the lesson in that scenario. That is, we teach the lesson by presentation. For example, you show a picture, or you tell a story, and then out of it, you teach your lesson. Then students do some practice with you, as you're teaching. They do some practice of the target language. The target language could be a verb, could be a structure, could be idioms, whatever it is you're teaching is a target language. Okay, so you do some controlled activities. You can say, fill in the gaps. Okay, so answer these questions with the correct answer, or choose from this selection of words to fill in that place. Or you do a restricted practice using a transformational sentence. You do drills if you like, because drills are controlled activities. Repeat after me. I'm a girl. I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person. What am I? I'm a nice person, etc. That's restricted. So after doing the controlled activities, the teacher uses concept questions. Now, this is important for you. You need to use concept questions to check the understanding of your learners. Usually you use concept questions with PPP. So having taught, for example, what is a verb or what is a noun or whatnot, whatever you're teaching, you now begin to test the concept. So is walking a noun? Walking. And I'm going to ask that question to you. Now, in the chat, I need your answers. Is walking a noun? I'm waiting for your answers. I didn't teach the lesson, but I just realized I should ask you that question. Is it a noun? Walking. So that's an example of a context question. Context question for what? Somebody says it's a verb. Do we agree it's a verb? Does anybody have something else to say? It could be a verb, yes. It could also be a gerund, which means that word could be a noun. Okay, it's a concept. It depends on where it's placed. Someone says, yeah. Okay, so I cheated a bit because I didn't teach the lesson, but I just realized that I could test that concept to see how aware you are of language. It could be a verb, it could be a gerund. A gerund is a structure that looks like a verb because it looks like a verb, it has ing, and so you think it's a verb, but it could be a noun. So walking it's an exercise. So walking is an exercise, and that's a noun. But if I am walking to school, that's a verb. Okay, so great. So I just tested a concept. Can I repeat the question? The question was, is walking a verb? Is walking a verb? That was a trick question. So let's make a sentence with it. Walking is one way to exercise. Now, in the context of my sentence, I said walking. Sorry, my spelling, I made a spelling mistake. Walking is one way to exercise, or walking is another way to exercise. Now, what is walking in the context? I have a walking stick. Now, somebody's giving the example, I have a walking stick. So what is walking in the context of I have a walking stick? Two questions. Mine first. What is mine? Walking is a way of exercise. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it an adverb? Is it an adjective? Walking is one way of exercise. You said it's an adjective. Do you mean walking stick, walking in walking stick, or walking is a way to exercise? Noun in my question, yes. Walking becomes a noun, it's a gerund. It looks like a verb, but it's functioning as a noun. And in the other case, I have a walking stick with me. Now, I have a walking. So the use of have shows that that walking is not it's not a verb. It's a walking stick. It's an adjective. It's describing the stick. And I'm walking to school. I'm walking to school. Here is your verb. All right, so that's language awareness we did yesterday. All right, that you could confuse your students just like I confused you a few minutes ago. So the best way to teach English is within a context. So I take the word walking and walking and I put it in a context, and you can tell whether it's a verb, whether it's a noun, or whether it's an adjective. So don't forget, some words with ing are nouns. They are called gerunds. Okay. So a concept question, let's say I taught about gerunds today, or I taught maybe, yeah, gerunds, and I could test the concept. Is walking a noun, or is walking a verb or a noun? I want to test your understanding. If you say it's a verb, then you understand a bit. But if you say it's both, then I say, great, let's continue. So that's what we do in English. So a man was walking to school, and he, or we could say the man fell. The man fell down. Concept question. Has he just fallen down? That's present. Has he just fallen? No, he fell down. Okay, so when did he fall down? In the past. It's a concept question. Cats are wild, no, you can say lions are wild animals. Wild animals. The concept you want to check is wild. Is a cat a wild animal? No. It's a domestic animal. If the student says yes, then they don't understand what the term wild is. That's a concept question. It's very good in teaching English and in teaching every other subject. Like in mathematics, for example, you taught different concepts. You taught triangles, squares, circles, octagons, and all of that. Does a square have three sides? Can somebody answer that? Does a square have three sides? Does a square have three sides? It's a concept question. Once the student says no, then it's likely they understand what a square is. Does a triangle have three sides? Can somebody answer that? Does a triangle have three sides? Yes, it means you understand the concept of a triangle. All right, so you see, when you've taught the lesson, they've practiced a bit, then you want to test the concept using a concept question, a question that is posed using the concept you taught. Is it noun? Is it verb? Is it a triangle? So you test the word in a sentence, in a question. And if they understand the question, they will give you the right answer. Then you know your students have learned it. Okay, so presentation, practice, and then the final part of this lesson is production, where the students do more activities. But this time in English language, we like to give them the freer activities. You know, we don't want, we've constrained them already with the restricted activity. So production stage, allow them to be free to produce the language. So whether they're writing freely with their own words, or if they're talking freely. So in the TKT exam, if you see a scenario in which the teacher presents, then students practice the target language, they practice, they can add teacher used concept languages, tested the concept through a concept question. Then when you see the freer practice So presentation is a teacher. Practice is controlled, student. The teacher controls the practice, and production is freer. That's the final practice where the learner is now allowed to produce sentences of their own with a target language. That is PPP. So you can create different types of activities or lessons using this method. Then we have task-based learning, TBL. This is for teachers who believe that language is relevant for everyday life and it's not abstract generally. So your focus here is mainly on real authentic activities using authentic text. So for example, the teacher sets a context. Why? Setting the context is like creating a scenario or using a situation. So you set the context or you create a context. But the technical expression is set the context. You are in secondary school and your mom came 1 month ago to go to visit you. Now she's going to come in 2 days' time and you can send her an email. What are you going to say? Now write an email telling your mom what to bring to school when she comes in 2 days' time. So if you create the context, then the student is more inclined to produce the language. Okay, so in TBL, we create the context, but we create it also for PPP. Creating a context or setting the context is fundamental for English language learning. You have to give a background or a scenario to help the student to understand. It's just like giving a sentence, a word in a sentence, and you can interpret that word within the structure. In the same way, you can interpret an activity or a text, or you can understand something within a range or a scenario that talks about your lived experience. So in this case, task-based learning, the teacher comes and says, okay, we're going to write letters today. So everyone, let's write a letter to the general manager of ABC company asking for a job. Are you ready? I'm going to create you, I'm going to form you into groups so you work together and create a letter. So group A, all pupils sitting on this side form group A. All pupils here, B, C. Now, join together and write a letter. So they start writing. As they're writing, they're discussing. Then a student, how do we start this letter? Do we say dear sir, or dear manager? I don't know. Ask the teacher. And then they come to the teacher. They just raise their hands or they ask, how do we start the letter? The teacher says, it's a formal letter. So you could say, dear sir or madam. Then she goes around. The other group is writing, the address. No, it's not supposed to be here. There's supposed to be an address here. Let's ask the teacher. And the teacher goes there. She's monitoring. What do you want me to do? Do we need an address? Yes, you need an address. Where should we put the address? It's here. So they are learning as they're writing the letter. That's task-based learning. You give them an authentic task, and in the process of doing it, they begin to identify their need for the correct language or the correct layout to do the task. So the teacher is monitoring and helping students as they're working until the task is completed. Then only does the teacher teach the lesson to highlight the important parts of the lesson or parts of whatever activity or the rules. Okay? Would you like to be in the PPP class or in the TBL class? Okay? So in task-based learning, we're using authentic tasks. The teacher can say, write a diary. Imagine so and so and so, you're feeling sentimental, you need to keep a record. So write a diary entry. Create a menu. Write an article to the newspaper complaining about so and so. It could be done individually, but we encourage students to work together in groups, so that they are teaching themselves in some way or the other as they're working under the teacher's supervision. They're learning new things. If you do want your students to do an individual task later, you can around the end of the lesson. But remember, You start with an authentic task. That's a real thing. Then you form your students in groups. They're doing the activity and they're asking you questions as they're doing it. So you're monitoring, going around. When everybody has completed it, then they can present their task. Then based on what they've been doing or the need that they had of the language, you can now highlight, you can teach the lesson and highlight the important aspects they need to know. That's task-based learning.